be looking over here.
Hello. Hi everybody, I'm Jacqueline. Welcome to my bakery. It's called Partybus Bakeshop, and we're on the Lower East Side in New York City. And today we're gonna learn how to make pecan pie from scratch. I have all my ingredients ready to go, and we're gonna dive in. So I have, most importantly, the flour. There's some flecks of color in there. That's because we're using a stone ground flour. I think color equals flavor, so the more like little flecks, the better. This recipe will make 2 9-inch crusts. What I need to do first is cube up my butter. This is about 2 sticks worth, or half a pound. The way we get a really like flaky, crumbly crust and not like a cardboard dense crust is to have little tiny flecks of butter within our flour. The butter will steam itself inside in little pockets. So we don't want it to be melted and soft. We want it to stay whole, and we're gonna cube it up in tiny little pieces in a technique that's called ricing. I want kind of like pea-sized cubes. And I like using the bench scraper because I can use my full body weight on top instead of cutting with a knife. Also, I'm a little bit clumsy, so this is safer for me. It's cutting tiny little pieces. You can see all these guys here. And all of these cubes are gonna go straight into my flour. Put this into my flour. And I'm gonna toss it to coat and make sure that I'm separating each little piece of butter so that each one is totally coated in the flour. So I've tossed to coat, and all of my little butter cubes are thoroughly coated in the flour. And the next step is gonna be to pinch. I'm spreading that butter out on my finger. So these little tiny flakes of butter end up fully coated in the flour and then compressed to create that flaky dough. So I'm gonna keep pinching and pinching, pinching. This is like the meditative part of pie making. Like listen to a good book. You can see the separation of like what's purely flour and the pieces of butter, and by the end it should look like gritty sand or like teeny tiny pieces of rice, which is why it's called ricing. I'm getting really close. You can see the color and texture is very different than when we started. So now the next step is to hydrate. We're gonna use 1/3 cup of water, a tablespoon of sugar, and a teaspoon of salt. I have my sugar, salt, toss to combine. The last step is to add my water. So I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of this. And you can start to squeeze at this point to see if there's enough water to hold the dough together. Because if we overdo it, the dough will be sticky and get a little too glutinous, and it'll be tough. It does feel a little dry to me, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish adding the rest of my water. Now I can feel that it's really coming together, and I'm just sort of scraping the bottom of my bowl and folding the dough over until it creates like a nice rough ball. Our dough is basically done, and you can see the striations of the butter running through it. We still have that flakiness in our crust. That was it. There's really no mystery to pie crust, I don't think. Everyone's scared of it, but it's just knowing which ingredients to use and at what point to put them in. So our dough is finished, and now it needs to rest and chill in the fridge a little bit before we roll it out, just so that the flours get fully hydrated all the way through. This is good for 2 9-inch crusts or 1 like double crust pie. So I'm gonna split it in half, cut it down the center. And again, you can see nice little flakiness, pieces of butter in there, all the nice colors. We can round these off into discs with our hand and wrap it in plastic. So if you wanted to do this ahead of time, you could keep this in the fridge for a week or in the freezer for a month. Just definitely double wrap it. And I'm gonna get this one in there too. Okay, I'm gonna go get these in the fridge so that they can rest, and then we're gonna come back and start on our pecan pie filling. The nice thing about pecan pie filling is everything goes into a bowl and you whisk it together, nice and easy. I have my honey here. It's about 1/3 cup. And so it's equal parts honey and sugar. And then we've got eggs, which I pre-whisked for us. It's about 3 full-size eggs. We have butter, and I've browned my butter. I think it gives it like an extra nutty flavor. You don't have to brown your butter. You can just melt it or you can sub it out for any vegetable oil if you like. Color equals flavor. We need salt, vanilla extract. This is about a full teaspoon. You can see it's pretty simple. Everything is together and all I have to do is whisk it. I'm not a very good whisker. I usually end up like, plus I'm a lefty, so really I do everything backwards. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but I'm done. You can see everything is combined, the color is nice and even, and we're ready to bake once we sheet out our pie shell. Our pie crust has chilled in the fridge for about half an hour. We're ready to sheet it out. So I'm gonna sprinkle some flour right on top and flip it over. And with my rolling pin, I'm gonna start close to myself and roll back and forth. I'm like putting my body weight into it. Like almost the diameter of my tin. Yeah, a little bit more. And then I'm gonna turn it 90 degrees and roll that direction. I don't wanna like measure it per se, because everybody's tins are slightly different size. You might be baking in like a big ceramic dish or like a glass pie shell, like a Pyrex. So I like to measure it by taking my tin and actually putting it on top of the dough. And I wanna see an inch extra all the way around. So I don't have that yet. So I'm gonna keep going and turning and rolling and turning. So now I can see I have like an inch extra all the way around. And now I'm gonna turn my tin upside down, and then I'm gonna slide my hand underneath the parchment paper and then put another one on top and do like a total 180 flip. And 1, 2, 3, flip. So before I peel my parchment paper off, tap into the edge to make sure the crust is like fully stuck in there. And now gently, I'm gonna pull the parchment away. And voila! Our crust made it into the tin without tearing. It's not even all the way around, so we have to trim some of this excess off. Okay, TV magic, I have my scissors now. And you just want it to be even all the way through so that the crust isn't thicker in some sections. All right, a little scrap. So now it's a lot cleaner. Again, it's not perfect because no pie is, but it's much more even all the way around. So now we can pinch this crust up underneath itself to create like a little double layer. And as I'm tucking, I'm also turning the whole shell. And now the crimp part. I'm gonna take 2 fingers on the outside and 1 finger on the inside, just gently pushing inwards. I'm only moving my outside fingers, and my inside finger is just sitting against the inside lip of the shell. You can see it starts to create this really nice, like big, wide, like kind of fat crimp where I'm keeping the elevation of the shell. So our pie shell is ready to go in the oven. We just have to fill it. I'll actually put my pecans in first and line the bottom, and as it bakes, they'll kind of float up through the filling and create a nice top layer. I have my pecans. It's about 3/4 of a cup. I'm gonna sprinkle them into my shell, spread them out nice and even. Today, I'm gonna do a ginger pecan pie. So I have a 1/4 cup of crystallized ginger. So I'm gonna add these in as well. Spread them out again. So you can see we already have a lot of really good stuff in our pie. The last thing to go in is our filling. I'm just gonna pour it on top and we're ready to go. So you can't see them now, but the pecans will definitely end up at the top of our pie, I promise. In your home oven, I would recommend baking this at 375 degrees Fahrenheit and for approximately 35 to 40 minutes. Look for like a little golden color in your crust and a dome on the top of your pie. And now we can let it rest for a bit and then have a taste. The true test, now that the pie is baked and out of the oven, we get to taste it. So I'm gonna cut myself a slice. Here we go. And we have pie. So you can see the pecans came up nice to the top. They're a little bit toasted. Our crust stayed together. It didn't crumble. And we got a nice, rich honey filling. So I'm just gonna take a bite. Pretty good. So yeah, our pecans get a nice toasty flavor because they're roasting in the oven with the pie. They don't have to be pre-toasted. The honey really comes through and gives it a super complex sweetness instead of like a really syrupy sweetness, and that little like extra bit of salt I think really just enhances everything. The crust has a really nutty, awesome flavor because of the stone milled flour. I think the brown butter adds to the complexity of it as well. Pecan pie is one of those kind of like keep it in your back pocket. It's really easy, but it's super impressive and it makes everyone happy. I'm a big fan, so I'm gonna go have a snack. Okay guys, that's all for today. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our pie making lesson. If you'd like to learn more, you can join us on site at the bakery for a class, and all of our dates are listed through the link below. Have a click. Have a click. So hopefully see you soon. Thanks.